Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our Friday panel on the targeting of books in school libraries. But first, finding common ground.
Big, broad ambitions consistent with having the strongest economy in the G7 and being an energy superpower.
When we hear the Prime Minister talking about being an energy superpower, we haven't heard that kind of language for some time.
Alberta's Premier at this week's First Ministers meeting in Saskatoon, encouraged by what she calls a change in tone as the federal government moves toward fast-tracking major projects to help grow the economy. And a newly elected Alberta MP will have a role to play in helping navigate that road forward. He joins us now. Hogan, MP for Calgary Confederation. Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
All right. You've now been named Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources. What does that put on your plate?
Well, energy and natural resources mostly. So we become part of a bigger team that is involved in the energy conversations happening, of course, but also forestry, critical minerals, and my role involves supporting the minister in that, whether that be in Parliament or whether that be with stakeholders as we try to put together a very ambitious agenda here.
Albertans have seen not only the images of interactions at the First Minister's Roundtable, but also the PM and Premier Smith meeting face-to-face in recent days. What do you feel those meetings have actually achieved, actively accomplished?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, we all know that we need to rebuild relationships. It's been a bit of a rocky time between Alberta and Canada as far as governments go, and this is great. We've turned a page. We've got more constructive conversations, and constructive relationships, constructive conversations is the foundation on which we're going to build our future ambitions, whether they be energy corridors, increasing production, or whatever the case may be as we come forward. So the Prime Minister and the Premier are setting foundations for lots of great work to come.
Well, now, how prepared are you then for hurdles in navigating the road forward with the Smith government?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good in theory, and then the rubber hits the road, right? And I think what we need to make sure that we're able to get through those hurdles is a goodwill relationship. And so it's part of why it's so important that they've gotten off on the right foot, the Prime Minister and the Premier. And so my job will be trying to make sure that we stay on the right foot as we walk down that road.
Okay, that job as Parliamentary Secretary, you have that role now, but there was a degree of reaction in this province, even disappointment over the fact you were not named to Mark Carney's cabinet. How do you engage those who say that because you're one of only 2 Liberal MPs elected in Alberta, you should have a portfolio?
Yeah, well, I mean, the reality is there's 164 Liberal MPs that could be in cabinet, and we all want to be in cabinet. We don't all get to be in cabinet, but because I am the sole Liberal in Calgary, I assure you there's still a very strong voice and a very strong place at the table for me to bring forward those issues and those concerns, and I think that's in part reflected with this appointment that just happened. All
right, it's only been a few weeks in Ottawa now, but what have you tackled post-election? What has been the priority?
Well, there's a lot of parliamentary nuts and bolts that need to happen whenever you've got a new government. Of course, we had the throne speech. The King was here. That throne speech sets out a very ambitious agenda, which includes eliminating interprovincial trade barriers, includes building the strongest economy in the G7 through bringing a tax cut to 22 million Canadians, and also removing GST on new home builds, among many other things. And so getting that through the House of Commons is job number one. And from there, we're also looking to strengthen our borders, and we are also looking to strengthen competitiveness more broadly. So bills have been introduced or will be introduced on all of those things.
To what degree are you working with those across the aisle, engaging with Conservative MPs from across Alberta?
Yeah, politics has a certain level of theater, and you see us, of course, yelling at each other in the House of Commons. But the reality is, in the chamber is one thing, but in the lobbies behind it and in the halls of that, there's lots of constructive conversations. I've had lots of constructive conversations with my fellow Calgary MPs, such as Greg McLean. We like to say that we share custody of the Bow River, and we're continuing to find common ground on a number of things. And you saw that as recently as yesterday, where the Conservatives were happy to support the tax cut that was brought forward by this government.
How much is dialogue back here at home over the prospect of a referendum on separation weighing on your responsibilities now in representing this province in the House of Commons?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of why I ran. I wanted to make sure that I was able to be a strong pro-Canada voice, and I thought that we needed a strong pro-Canada voice, and so that's a bit my why. So it weighs on everything in a sense, but I also don't want to overstate it. We've seen polls that have support for separation anywhere from 20 to, I think, 35% in terms of like more mainstream polls, and that's roughly where it's been for a long time. That's obviously too high. We don't want Albertans to feel that they can only meet their ambitions outside of this country, but it is definitely a very minority opinion. And so you're always trying to strike a balance between addressing those concerns and not giving too much oxygen to those concerns. But it weighs heavily. It comes up regularly. It's something that we talk about. It's certainly something everybody in the House is aware of, liberal or conservative, and it's something we know needs to be addressed.
All right, 2 weeks left in this short sitting of Parliament, though the PM indicating during a news conference today that may be extended. But still, what should Albertans expect your government to accomplish in what remains of that sitting window?
Yeah, well, so we'll get through the bills that I was just talking about. We'll strengthen the border. We'll bring in a middle-class tax cut, and we'll get that through completion. We'll get interprovincial trade barriers down, among many other things. But you can also expect us to get down to work on what we would call almost the portfolio work. And so people like Tim Hodgson, the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, already been out to Calgary, talked to stakeholders a couple of times, in fact. And you can expect a lot of that work's going to continue too. So a lot of governing happens in the House, but a lot of governing happens outside of the House. And you're going to see that continue pretty aggressively through the summer.
Do you play a role in the upcoming G7 summit?
Well, only in the sense that I'm a local MP, but no, I'm not like a speaking or anything, but I will certainly be supporting with some of the conversations that are occurring in the background.
All right. We'll leave this conversation at that point. Appreciate your time this evening, sir. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Corey Hogan is the MP for Calgary Confederation and now Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.